Tango 1 at the top, we are at pop-up control. 10-4, Tango 1, you have control. Tango 1 copy. Stand by. Stand by.
Integrity, passion, resilience. That's what this place was built on. That's what our community is founded on. Don't act like the example, just be the example. This is the home of the greatest fitness community in the world. We're trying to create strong, able bodies, resilient to injury with a gas tank to get shit done. If there's one thing from this podcast, it's about taking immediate action, find the problem, fix the problem. This is your opportunity. It's either a hell yes or a fuck no. It's that simple. You're ruining that the Tango 1 podcast. Now is the time to take action. Now's the time to do more and be more.
Good. All right, man. Welcome to the Tango 1 podcast. I'm Tony Smith, a retired cop, SWAT team leader, and the founder of the Garage Gym and Tango 1 Solutions. I'm joined by my friend and fireman, former Garage Gym head trainer, just put in his papers, Casey Wright. And our mission is to challenge you to live the tactical life, to guide you to create an immediate action plan against your problems. We want you to do more and be more. Today, we are joined by a great guy from my network, somebody I've known for quite some time from the Jim Jones community back in the day, and now with Westside Tactical and to the Maximus family. He is Byron Godfrey. He's the owner of Misfit Strength and Conditioning in Houston. He plays some Division I football at Rice and all kinds of other cool stuff that we're going to get into in this episode. So thanks for coming on, Byron.
Hey, man, I appreciate you for having me, brother.
Yeah, so in this episode, we want to talk about your refusal to be average, how football's played into your life, because a couple of ex-football players here, and your mission to build better humans and just like integrity in general.
Yeah, man, I think football, sports in general, man, has pretty much shaped, where I am right now, my work ethic. I can attribute a lot of that to my mother. You know what I mean, man? I can tell you a story real quick about the days that I wanted to quit sports, football to be in particular, simply because a friend wanted to quit. And my mother, the gentle, loving soul that she is, hit me with the swiftest left hand in the chest. Man, I don't think I've ever been hit that hard in my life, even on the football field. And that lesson that she taught me was, man, you don't do something simply because someone else is doing it. And you definitely don't stop something because someone else is doing it. So the biggest thing for me, man, and throughout that lesson was how sports in general, fitness in general, man, is pretty much a parallel to how we handle life. And that's just one of the things that we try to teach in our gym community. And we try to stand by that.
I couldn't agree more.
I think that's something really cool that you guys do. Is I know you have a big focus on training kind of everybody like you would train an athlete, right? Training everybody in your household, just like your average day person, like you would train a football player or a soccer player, right? That's something that I know you guys have been doing. So how do you alter your programming compared to anything like a normal routine compared to a sports specific player?
Well, just that, if it's a sports specific type of player, then of course, a lot of the stuff that we do will be centered around them playing that sport, being really explosive, dynamic, changing directions, powerful, and then of course having a baseline of strength to begin it all. But if it's just a normal person, I think athletes are the best looking people to walk the face of the earth. And then obviously they're probably the most functionally fit. So why not train like them physically? And then in addition to that, they have to mentally be stronger than most people who are walking the streets. Just the things that they have to do on and off the field, it asks for a lot more. And so we tend to use that same type of theory when it comes to working with our just normal, average, everyday person who's not on the field or not on the court. So it translates pretty easily for us.
So you're a really big dude, man. Like you're gotta be 6'4", 6'5". Like you're a big man. And one thing that amazed me training with you was how you can go. Like I expected you to be strong. You looked the part, but the ability for you to move and to move fast. So like talking about athletic training, I know I'm into my 40s now. I think it's crazy important for, you know, ex-athletes like us not to be like, hey, I used to be able to run and jump. Like, I still want
Right.
to be able to run and jump. How do you mix
Right.
that into your training? Because you are, I mean, I know you've gotten into the West Side way a little bit with your lifting, but are you still breathing a lot, doing a lot of that work?
So I have 2 hard days of breathing, where we would be very similar to some of the things that we would do in Jim Jones. Just simply because I find that for me to be uh, like really logical for me. I want to be able to move as well as lift heavy weights. Um, I've always been strong. My parents are big people, right? So strength was just a thing that came naturally to me. Um, I tell people I was built for power, right? But long endurance stuff, it sucks and it hurts bad, man. Um, and still to this day, I avoid it, um, not running from it totally. I do it. Like I said, you got 2 days. Um, but man, I don't do the crazy stuff that I used to. But you're still gonna get a good 45 minutes of some high intense IWTs in there with us. The workout that we have today coming is just some blocks of 6-minute blocks with minimal rest, about 3 minutes in there. Carrying some heavy stuff while we work, pull on that ski erg during the whole time. But I think the big thing for me is to make sure that I am able to not just lift heavy weights, but if somebody comes after me, I can move, I can run, I can still jump, and that's very important. Like you said, for me, I'm 44, soon to be 45, and I got boys, young boys. My oldest boy is 21, and I have a 16-year-old soon to be, and then a 12-year-old. They like to compete. They like to push me. They still need to know Dad can go, right?
Yeah,
They know I'm strong.
the young
It's important
lion
that
trying to push
yeah,
Mufasa off the throne,
hey,
right? At the
like
head of the pride.
I tell
And
them
speaking of Misfit, that is your, I mean, that is your logo, is the lion, right? And I
exactly.
think is that where that all comes from?
You know, the lion concept just came because of what the lion represents. You know, for most people, you know, it's majestic, it's strong, powerful, but yet they also roll in groups, right? In a pride. And so for me, pretty much, I'm sure with you, my gym is my family. You know, they're important to me. Really, they really are important to me. I wake up in the morning at 3:45 every morning. I know people say that's crazy. I love what I do, right? And it's simply because the people that I work with are great people. So that lion thing just came about. Like, what do we want to build? And whatever it was that stood there, that figurehead needed to represent what we wanted to build. And for me, the lion was it. It was quintessential it. And me being who I am, man, I felt like I could be a great leader, and I'm still continuing to learn and to work on being that great leader and to help people, as we say, reach their fullest potential and build better humans.
That's awesome. So go back a little bit. You played football at Rice, right? You were running back and
Correct.
tight end, kind of back and forth.
Man,
I'm assuming
yeah.
you got that big body for it. And then I think in your 5th year, you started assisting the strength coaching with some programming
Correct.
with the
Mm-hmm.
team. Is
So
that
I
what
actually
kind of
came in as a
sparked that?
quarterback, man.
Oh
Yeah, so
yeah.
I actually came in as a quarterback. I was a quarterback out of high school, and then they moved me from running back down to tight end. But then my last year there at Rice, I started assisting the strength and conditioning coaches.
Right.
And that was, I found to be like fulfilling,
Right.
to watch everyone from our football program to our tennis, to our basketball, softball, everything, just to watch them work. And then for us to help them build programming so they could, you know, be stronger, faster, more explosive. Man, I fell in love with that. And so once I got out of that, man, I got into teaching and coaching, which kind of just fell in line with all the stuff I love. While I was there at Rice, I was the vice president of the student athlete committee, and specifically just led the community relations department. And part of my job was to work with inner city youth here in Houston, Texas. And I loved it, right?
Very cool.
And so I combined the two things that I love the most, working with kids, and then of course, sports. football being, the dominant sport of choice. And then I got out of that about 6 years after that and ran into a guy that I played ball with at Rice, who was a manager over at a gym here in town. He was like, "Hey, B, man, you should try this training thing. Man. I think you will love it." And man, the rest is history. That was like in early 2000s. So I've been doing this almost 20 years.
Man, it amazes me how much our paths have kind of paralleled each other with the fitness industry. I mean, a football player, I saw Casey light up because he was a university quarterback, undersized university quarterback. he loves that part. But yeah, Casey was a good university quarterback, and then I played receiver. And my first position was a strength trainer at that same place that I had played.
Right.
And then, lost fitness was still part of my life with the police department, and then kind of got back into it for Bobby and to the West Side stuff. And I really see on your post through Misfit that there's so much, you guys have kind of stuck the same way that we have. Like, we have a real flavor of the West Side, but we also have the real flavor of the Bobby Maximus, Jim Jones influenced work, that hard work, that
right.
Like, lift heavy, move fast. It's kind of like, I think like a lot of people really hem themselves into one way of training rather than just exposing yourself. And I know we've been in all the same places. So I feel like we've, exposing ourselves to Jason, to Bobby, and to all these other great trainers and through football. It's just, why would you hose yourself into one thing when you can learn so much from everybody, and apply?
Oh man, you said it, man. There's so much in this industry, that I think people just neglect to pursue. Right? They get tunnel vision. This is what I do. This is who I am, and I'm gonna stick to it. That's great, right? I just think there are just so many other things that you should want to explore. Being fit is not just being strong, right? We want to run, we want to jump, we want to move stuff. Like I said, if I'm getting chased, you're gonna have to work to catch me, right? And then if you do catch me, I'm strong enough that I'm gonna be able to hold you off, right? And so you take that in there with just the mentality that it takes to be an athlete, to work when you don't feel like it, to get up early, to not let your teammates down, that kind of stuff, that team over me type of mentality. And if you can implement that in your fitness community, man, you're unstoppable, if you ask me, because now people take that into their real life. That is our thing. What we do in our gym needs to transfer into your real life. So the mind, everything that we talked about, the Jim Jones philosophy of the mind is primary. That wasn't, they didn't originate that, but yeah, we understand that if we can mentally strengthen a person, the other stuff is easy.
Yeah, they didn't invent that, but I feel like they helped, and then guys like you and I really helped to bring it to the forefront of fitness. Like, I think there wasn't anybody in this Windsor, Essex area that we're in, just across from Detroit. For anybody who's listening to Byron, doesn't know where we are. We're just across from Detroit, but we're actually in Canada. There was nobody talking about the mindset, the mind, how you could take your fitness and help it deal with your stress, and how you can lend perspective to like how you feel after an IWT to how you feel after as a first responder in a traumatic event. It's so similar, and they run such parallel universe. So I love hearing guys, all over now North America, all over the world, really kind of spreading that same kind of influence, man. It's really inspiring. So with Misfit, like, when did you decide you became a school teacher, right? And then you decide to open a gym?
No. So once I stopped teaching, I actually worked in a gym. I was a trainer, just a normal trainer.
Gotcha.
Worked my way up to managing a personal training department at a gym here in Houston called Fit Athletic Club. Left there, and just went independent. Some things went downhill as far as the economy goes. Training, this was the first, I would say, recession that we had here with the oil and gas industry. So when things dropped, the personal training industry here, specifically where I was, suffered. So I went out on my own. And with that, I started just basically renting out spaces at these different gyms. I'd take my clients with me, like, yo, hey, here, we're going to be training over here. I would pay that gym. They would pay the gym a membership fee. I'd train them. Boom, that was it. Until I got tired of moving around, not being able to have ownership of your space was important to me. And then that stability for my clients was even more important. So with the help of a good friend of mine, we started a gym here in Houston. Now, when we first started this, Tony, it was trash, man. I can't tell you how bad our gym was, but it was our home. And we're thankful that we had people who loved us and who decided that they would stick with us and grow with us. A little old, simple, really garage style gym, right? Just, I had to send you pictures one day, man. It was just a metal building, nothing, no insulation, no nothing. And we took money out of our own pocket. We took one little loan out, and that loan was for a total of $12,000. Everything else came out of pocket, came out of savings, came out of our own pockets to build this thing. And still to this day, I live by that same motto. Yes, I do have things at a bank and credit cards and all this, but if it's not in our budget that we can't purchase, we don't get it. It's just that simple. I don't charge anything, right? So that's what we did. And with Misfit Strength, man, it was like we need our own space. And there was 6 trainers. All 6 of them came with me. Right now, of those 6, only 1 is left with me. You know him, I'm boy Court, right?
Yeah,
That's why he's my guy. You know what I mean? Not that the other ones aren't good people, but they just chose different paths and different careers moving forward. But he's the one that stuck with me. And man, we've built a community, and we still have a community of great trainers and great people.
Man, I don't know if I've seen too many duos like you and Chris. Like you guys have been together so long. You're so tight.
Yeah.
You know, and a
that's
little
my
bit
guy,
different,
man.
but so much the same. It's so odd.
Yeah.
You're that's lasted so long in this
we are
industry.
different. We are different. We are different in a lot of ways, but the one way that we are very similar is, man, the love we have for one another, our work ethic. We both want to succeed. And because of that, man, I don't think it's that whole, like I said, team mentality. I won't let him down. I know he won't let me down. And because of that, man, I always have his back. Yeah.
That's great. Are you guys just the one location right now, or are you expanding?
We are one right now. We were going to expand, but when COVID hit, man, oh man, it hurt. Financially, we took a big hit. And because of the industry, it's just so much uncertainty with being able to expand and grow, and people wanting to come back into, spaces like ours, that right now we're just choosing to focus all of our energy on the one, make sure that ship doesn't sink, which right now we're good. I mean, I'm not putting that out there like we're having a problem. We're good. But to expand right now isn't the best business deal. Right.
How have you kind of shifted? Because I know I was listening to a podcast with Bobby, and that was kind of one of the goals was to expand a bit. How did you reevaluate kind of your goals and what success is for you as you, like, instead of, okay, we're not going to expand business, like we're not going to expand building wise, let's expand another way and adapt to the pandemic going on? What were ways that you found internally you guys shifted and did you set new goals in place as to measure what's next?
The goal just went right back in-house.
Right.
It was take care of home first. That was just that simple. We need to make sure that our people have a safe place to train, and then that whatever service that we provide is top notch. So that even included us continuing to learn our craft, which that wasn't going to stop. But we needed to make sure that they knew that we were going to learn and bring back a product that was even better than we had before. So we just continuously enhanced our knowledge, continuously enhanced our training style, our model, our philosophy, and just kind of built on what we already had. And I think that is the way that we're going to go moving forward for right now, unless this thing just takes another big boom and then there's an influx in this industry. But right now, man, we're going to make Misfit Strength this one location that we have just a big, strong place. When people come into Houston, we would like for them to look us up. They come in and know that they're training with some of the best trainers in the country. Not just Houston, not just Texas, but we want to make sure that we are seen as some of the most elite trainers in this industry.
And I've sent people to see you, and they've loved training in your spot, man. So remember Big Teddy from Kingsville Case by chance?
Yes, sir.
He went and trained with these guys. And yeah, man, I appreciate exactly what you're saying. We were considering moving into another spot or taking on another location, and then this hit, and then Exactly. I think it goes to integrity. It's one of the core values of the Garage Gym. And when I think of you, I really do think of integrity. And like you saying some of those very important things, the most important are always going to be the people within, right? And the people that have supported you along the way. You said, take care of family first, take care of yourself first, take care of family first, everything else will fall into place. And I think that's where a lot of people have, they got to grow. It's nothing wrong with having a growth mindset, but it's also like, like don't forget where you came from, and let's not, put yourselves in a position where you're going to lose the gym that you have, right? Because that's where I felt like if I spread myself a little thin in this situation, then maybe the people that have been there for me this whole time.
And it's kind of cool. It's cool when you see that come full circle, because that's similar to what we kind of did. Like Tony we talked about expanding a little bit. And then when it came down to it, it was like, let's focus on in-house. How can we give the best product possible, even with the circumstances? How can we build the quality of what we're doing and really like show in-house what we're doing? And then from that, without really trying, that's when opportunities start to open up on the outside, because sometimes when you just take kind of that reassessment on in-house, you start to learn new things, and then good things kind of come around full circle for it. So it's great to hear that that's the technique.
I don't think that it's not a growth mindset though, Tony, not to build outside. I think it's still a growth mindset. You're growing the business that you're in. You're just not going to expand your walls, because it's just right now, it's not a smart business decision. But man, you have a growth mindset, right? Taking care of home, growing the business at home is still a growth mindset. You're not stagnant. We're not stagnant. We are trying to find a way to enhance the product that we have. So we're still growing. We're just going to grow it and build it right here. You know what I mean?
Pumped up to go to work. No, thank you very much. And that's a great way to put it. And that's that's why we love hanging out with people like you guys, man. Put a positive spin on everything. And it's you're right.
It's very important. It's very important that we don't get stagnant in our growth mentally, even within this same space. You know what I mean? We are adding pieces of equipment. We've painted our place. We're gonna add some things to it to make it more comfortable for our members and our clients. That's growing, and they see it, and I think they love it. I hope they love it. And because of that, man, we're just gonna keep on adding to it and make their experience with us better.
Taking care of your members is the #1 priority for us as well. That's why this episode of the Tango One podcast is brought to you by Stephen Kidd Financial.
Does your financial advisor take the time to really listen to you? Is your financial strategy personalized for you and your family? And will your financial advisor be there as your life and financial situation change? When you work with Stephen Kidd, your local Edward Jones financial advisor, he focuses on what's important to you. You work together and use an established process to create a personalized financial strategy backed by the advice, tools, and resources to help you reach your goals. And you'll partner to help your strategy stay on track. Contact Stephen Kidd today at 519-734-8599. That's 519-734-8599. Edward Jones, member, Canadian Investor Protection Fund. Everybody on the Tango One podcast knows that we believe in top-end nutrition and high-quality products. If you are interested, HQ Nutrition, go to HQ Nutrition and use the code TANGO1, that's capital TANGO, Tango 15, Tango 15 to get 15% off your order.
This episode is also brought to you by Ian and Kara Murray.
Murray Insurance and Financial Services in Kingsville, Ontario. They are Southwestern Ontario's #1 ranked Desjardins insurance agency by their clients, and they are owned by Garage Gym, Kingsville OGs, Ian and Kara Murray. Ian and Kara's team prides themselves on many of the high standards that the Garage Gym members have come to expect. They are experts in the industry with over 100 years of combined experience. They focus on the best customer service in the industry with a claims concierge service that is exclusive to their clients. They also focus on community, employing local team members and investing back into the Essex County community on a continual basis. They are a one-stop shop for everything to protect you, your family, and your assets with the best policies in the industry. Oh, and they have incredible rates, especially when you combine your home, auto, and other insurance policies together with them. Give their team a call today or send them a text at 519-733-2331. You can also reach them at murrayinsurance.ca or on Instagram at Team Murray Insurance. So speaking of growth, let's talk about minimalist a little bit. So now you started hanging out with Jay a little bit more, Big Gus.
Yeah,
We just had him on the
yeah.
episode a few weeks ago, and we had him talk about silkies and short shorts. Are you buying into this? Are you buying
Absolutely not. Let me tell you what I don't do, man. We are not. Listen, hey, I love Jay. Like, Jason is my guy. Listen, Gus, I'll say it. That's you know why you love him. You know why I love him. But let me tell you what I'm not about to do. I'm not about to wear them little bitty shorts.
I'm seeing some violations on your
silkies.
Instagram, man. That's all I'm saying. I
Hey,
don't want to have
man.
to enforce these.
You know what I mean? I just can't. I can't do it. I'm from the South. Down here in Texas, we don't do that kind of stuff, man.
I feel like Chris has no problem doing these kinds of things.
Oh, Chris is different. Chris is different. Remember,
Yeah.
I grew up a little differently than Chris. You know, I mean, I'm an East Side boy from Houston, man. Chris grew up out there on the North Side in a different part of Houston.
I feel like Chris is behind that wall in a Speedo right now. It wouldn't even surprise
You know
me.
what? It wouldn't surprise me if he popped up and I'm like, man, what the hell? That's Chris. He has no shame, man.
Getting off the topic of fitness a little bit, something that came up in your bio, and I'd like to get a little advice on this because I have two sons, and they're way younger. They're 7 and 5, or sorry, 6 now. And man, and I read about you. So you're always kicking around with your older brother. So this is like the big one for me is like I watch them, and right outside my office window where I'm sitting right now, I can watch them. They play tackle football all day, every day, and I watch my oldest one ragdoll my young guy, and it's like that. That's my. What do you think?
Let him keep. Let me tell you. So it's just simple. My brother's almost 7 years. He's 6.5 years older than me. That's it. That's all I had was him. And I did have friends, but I loved just hanging around my brother. He hated it, right? He felt like he was babysitting. My mom would just say, "Hey, listen, let him hang out with you. And if y'all played, y'all let him play with you, and y'all hit him as hard as y'all can. If he cries, then I won't let him go back." So that was the thing. I couldn't cry, right? I had to just take whatever it was they gave me and keep going. And he tried his best. You hear me? Tony, he abused me, man. He abused me when we would play. He abused me at home. He abused me until the day I was no longer the little brother, right? I tell him to this day, he introduces me as his younger brother, not his little brother. So
I was gonna ask at what point, like, is your brother a pretty big guy as well?
No, he's a big guy.
Yeah. At what point or age did you find that shift where you're starting to look at him and you could tell he's nervous?
I was about 16 years old. I was a pretty big kid. I played varsity football as a freshman in high school. So I'm 14 playing with the 17, 18-year-old kids. That happens when you got a brother. You know what I mean? I'm used to it. Like kids my age, it was normal. I recall vividly coming home one day. My brother was in the military, and my mom was like, "Your brother's home," and that's all I needed to hear. It was time for me to show him that the times have changed. You know what I mean? Times have changed. I'm the big brother now, and so I just went in there and just let him know I'm a big boy now. And I can recall him saying, "Mom, come get Byron." My mom was like, No. You used to beat him up. Go ahead, beat him up again. You can handle him now. Well, no, not anymore.
Survival.
So it was about that sophomore year of high school when I'd outgrown him. That weight room was my friend.
So you've got 4 kids, right? You said?
Yep, I have twins who are 21, 16 years. Well, he'll be 16 next month, and then a 12-year-old.
Wow. So you and your wife, would you say like, do you parenting the same way? Like, I'm wondering like how much, like I found like parents and watching my friends and some of my associates, how they just jump in and get in the middle of everything. Do you think that, how do you think that would impact you, or how are you and your wife putting that same kind of like strategy into play, or are you?
Well, different. Let me clarify. First of all, ex-wife.
Oh,
not that, but we're on good terms. That's not
right.
a thing. We are similar in ways when it comes to the kids, just simply because we want them to succeed. I am probably more of the good cop, friendly kind of dude, simply for a few reasons. I'm a firm believer in allowing your children to have a safe space to come to you and talk. But with that, that does not mean I neglect my duties as a father, because I'm firm on that. And I'm fair, and they understand that. They know that, like, there's a line that we don't cross. But if there is something that comes up that they know they can talk to me, and I'm not gonna like yell and scream. That's not in my nature. I don't yell, I don't scream, I don't do that kind of stuff. So yeah, there is a difference in that, but I never ever contradict in front of the kids. That's important, that they will always believe that there's a united front. Now, if there's a disagreement, that disagreement it never happens in front of the kids. So, but my parenting style, I think, is the best. You know what I mean? I'm dad. I'm the best, right? It's just easy for me. I talk to them, and with having 3 boys and 1 girl, my daughter's a twin, so she's one of the oldest. She gets kind of left out of some of the conversations, because the conversations that I have with her brothers, I don't necessarily have in the same way. Now, the topics that we talk about are the same. And I do have to let my daughter know what most boys are thinking about, right? At that age. But she's 21.
Yes.
But she still does need that guidance from her dad and to teach her on that. So
Man, that's great advice.
It's there.
Great advice. And I think for like all leaders, if you and I were running a gym together, Byron, and we didn't agree, disagreeing in front of the team doesn't really accomplish much. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing.
At all.
It's just, sometimes showing that unified front and making sure that everybody's going in the right direction. We try to apply that here with my family too. I think that's great advice, man.
Right.
So,
no
I
doubt.
want to get in a little deeper though with some things, because you were actually somebody who helped me. So when the George Floyd thing happened during the last COVID lockdown, you were very vocal about it, and rightfully so. And I was kind of sitting not on a fence. I knew what the difference between right or wrong. I just didn't know my place as a white man, an ex-cop, is if I should take a public forum on it, and which I should do. And I know we have like a predominantly white, listeners. I don't know that for a fact. I'm not going to guess that though, because we live in a pretty white neighborhood, and a lot of cops and stuff, man. Like, I don't know, like what would you say? I don't think that here in Canada we're quite aware of the severity of what happens down south as far as racism. This is a real broad topic, man, but I just love to hear your take on it.
Man, not just down south. You mean south of your border?
Yes.
Yeah. We straightforward. There are 2 different Americas. For a person who doesn't understand that, and if you don't believe it, just go back and look at a couple of weeks ago, right? At what happened at the U.S. Capitol building, right? When the Black Lives Matter protests happened, armed guards, everything, standing on the steps of the U.S. Capitol. There was no way that what took place a couple of weeks ago could have happened then. You have a sense of entitlement here in this country that a lot of people don't want to own up to, right? And the proof is in the pudding. It's just simply, just take a look at what happened. Remove your emotions and let's just look at the facts. We can go numbers, or we can just say, hey, look, like they busted windows and everything, and then left there and went home, right? Whereas around this country, people who look like me, Black Americans, are seen as a threat simply because of the way we look, right? I can recall growing up, Tony, my cousin and I would just be walking down the streets of places like downtown Houston, and I would look up and there would be people just locking their doors in their cars, right? I recall being 13 years old on the east side of Houston, walking to the little convenience store, right? Getting handcuffed, sat on the curb because someone said there were Black kids trying to buy alcohol outside of the store, right? Now, mind you, Tony, I was a good kid, right? Yes, where I grew up was not the best. Not saying it was just terrible, because it wasn't, but I can go on about friends who got shot, so on and so forth. But both my parents were in the home. I grew up in a pretty decent home, We didn't have everything, but I never went hungry. Um, but I recognize it at a young age that I'm different, and people in this country treats me different. They treat me different, but it's obvious. This country was founded on racism. Um, that's what it was about. That's in the very DNA of America. Whether we want to believe it or not, it is. And it's going to take some real self-evaluation from people, specifically white people, to sit back and say, yeah, this is wrong. And yes, there are still benefits that I get for being a white person in America. Um, it's unfortunate that we have to still have this conversation. But I do remind people, my parents grew up in Jim Crow. My parents, right? The people that I see still to this day, they grew up, don't drink out of that water fountain, right? My mother's grandmother was a slave. My mother's grandmother, my great grandmother. So people want to talk about it was a long time ago. Really? I saw one with my own eyes. You don't get to tell me it was that long ago. So if you think this stuff is over and done with, you're a fool. And I have no other way to put it. You are a fool. You are blindly, you are turning your head. You're choosing to be blind. And so with people like that, man, I have a hard time respecting. I tell people to this day, I don't speak politics nor religion in my gym. Right? You want to do that? Fine. But if you step outside of the gym and you want to talk to me about that stuff, fine. I do believe the person that we had leading this country was a racist. I do. And he allowed people to just he fed that thought process, right? People walking through our U.S. Capitol building with the Confederate flag, and people say, "Hey, that's history." Yeah, history for you was one thing, but history for my people, the people who flew that flag, they didn't want to end slavery. They wanted to keep my people still enslaved. They wanted to keep Black Americans enslaved. So you don't get to tell me that it's over and done with, because it's not. We're a long ways away from that.
Man, that is a sad. It's sad, and I don't want to try to hide and say that it's not non-existent here. It is. It's just not at the forefront as much as it is
Right.
in your country. Unfortunately for you, fortunate for us, but it is hidden here and not talked about probably as much as it should be here as well in Canada. And that incident really helped to bring things to the forefront. It was a negative incident that brought a lot of positive, I guess, to the whole, not the Congress, but the Floyd and all the other incidents in between. And, had to make me kind of really evaluate myself as, a former cop, and what was I thinking? And I would be lying if I said that the first time I met you, I didn't look across and say, that's a big Black guy. Like, instead of like, hey, that's just a big, big guy. Like it's kind of like, it's just ingrained from growing up, and it's kind of sad. Whereas now when I know you, I don't even think of that. And I don't know why. And I don't find myself to be a racist person. But I think if we all self-evaluate a little bit, there's some in all of us, and maybe both ways a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. Here's my thing. So I don't have an issue with a person recognizing our differences. I don't have an issue with you saying, "Hey, that's a big Black guy. Hey, that's a big white guy." Yeah, your Blackness, my Blackness, you being white, whatever it is, that is not the issue here, right? The issue is when we can't celebrate those differences, right? There are cultural differences. Great. I think that's what makes humanity so special, is that I can enjoy your culture and learn more about you from it. That doesn't mean I have to accept it and adopt it as mine. That just means like, oh, let me learn about what Tony likes. What is his musical choices? What types of food does he like? I go to Salt Lake City, Rob being a Canadian, he brings these damn ketchup Lays. Who the hell eats ketchup Lays chips? Right? But that's just something that I find Canadians like, right? That's not a problem to me. That's just a difference, right? And we can celebrate those things. The problem is when we believe that our differences make us superior. That is the issue. My Blackness does not make me superior. It makes me different, right? And so I think when people hear things like Black Lives Matter, right? The people who have an issue with that, I think, are the people who can't understand what we are saying, right? It's because there's some insecurities there. When you hear that, well, what do you mean Black Lives Matter? You're saying my life doesn't matter? No, we're not saying that. We're trying to let you know that our lives matter too. And all lives can't matter if Black lives matter less than yours. It's a fact, right? If I get pulled over by the police officer and me reaching for my wallet gets me shot, right? Like Philando Castile did, right? Let the police officer know, hey, I have a weapon on me. It's legal. I have paperwork. I'm going to reach in here and get my wallet. He reaches, the police officer shoots him. Come on. We know that that's just, you're not seen as a threat if you were to reach for your, no, you're not. But here it is, this guy here that they are, right? And I don't know what the environment is up there with police officers in Canada, but I just know here in this country, man, majority of the people, 70+% of the people in prison look like me, or they're Hispanic. And you can sit here and say, well, don't do this, don't do that. Well, kiss my ass, right? If I get caught with crack, I go to jail. Whereas if you were to get caught with cocaine, you get a slap on the wrist. And last time I checked, you can't make crack without cocaine, right?
Yeah,
these are things that happen. And that's a fact. And these are laws. This is like that.
And you're not a guy who, there's me, you, Bobby, Gus, we are close. We're thick as thieves, the four of us, and three of us are ex-cops. You're not a guy who hates the police by any means. I want to make sure people know that. And you're just a very level-headed guy who's speaking for what you think is right, what is right. Right. And I think that's where it is that, like, I think you put it a great way. It's like nothing wrong with being different. It's that we're not celebrating those differences if we're like one of us thinks that they're better than the other because of it. And it's just real unfortunate to watch from here. It's unfortunate to experience it here. It's eye-opening when it does affect our lives and we have to speak about it. And you sent me, and this is the one thing that it kind of hit home. And I'm going to read it because I know you're big into this. And I had sent you a message. I didn't know who to reach out to. And then I think until you start to think about your friends in that situation, that it really hits home for a white guy like me. So, I have a handful of Black friends. I don't have a ton of Black friends. I grew up in a very white neighborhood, played football, and that's where I really got exposed into, that kind of more of a culture, differences and all these things that I've come to know these friends, which is great. But then I'm like, what happens to Byron? If Byron's that guy, what happens to, Eddie, like just some of my close friends. And, I asked you, like, should I say something? And your reply verbatim was, Blacks have kicked and screamed, sang, hugged, protested peacefully, and none of that shit worked. It won't change until whites begin to take a stand and speak out against it. Your voice is needed. And it just puts things into such perspective of how long this has been going on. And then hearing you say of how recently, that is insane to me. That's the most mind-blowing thing that I've heard on this podcast is that
think about it,
your
man.
great grandmother, man, you and I are the same age.
Think about it.
That's fucking crazy.
Think about that. Think about how, like, you can, a living, breathing human that you can say was an enslaved African in this country, in America.
Crazy, man.
That's wild. And then you have the nerve, and I don't mean this in a harsh way. I'm using this to put it in perspective. We tell on 9/11, we say never forget. We tell the Jews in the Holocaust to never forget. But when it comes to Blacks being enslaved in this country, we are the first to be told to get over it. Get over it. That happened a long time ago. Well, did it? And not only did it not happen so long ago, you're still reaping the benefits of it. When you can look at actual businesses that are in play right now, that are in business, they insured slaves, right? Like their line of business was to make sure that if a slave ran away or a slave died, they insured the slave owner that they would repay them for the loss. Like we were property. And so when you look at companies and businesses where they made money off of human cargo and they're still benefiting from it, and they have yet to put back into that community to help rebuild it or to give things to help advance, whether it's education, whether it's just resource, whatever resource you can to help flip this, it's a big issue, right? We all know education is the number one thing. We all do. If you can improve a person's education, you enhance their opportunity further down in life. Well, when I look at schools like HISD here, Houston Independent School District, and you have some schools in a lower income area versus some public schools in a wealthier income area, the school in the wealthier income area has better facilities, right? Better resources than some in the poor areas. How can you tell me that's fair? And they're all in the same school district, right? So they come at me with things like property taxes. Well, because they pay more on their property taxes. And I have something to say about that. I don't care about your property tax. This is about making sure that everybody has an opportunity to learn, right? And just because they have more money over here, their tax dollars are feeding these elected officials on these school boards, just like their wealthy families is. So
yeah, I mean,
it's just an issue there.
If we're talking about problems, then we should really talk about solutions. And I think
exactly.
And I think what you're saying and what you're alluding to, correct me if I'm wrong, is spreading those funds, and if not actually putting more funds into the lower income neighborhoods, lower income schools. It's kind of just like with the defund the police. I don't think the answer is defund the police. I think the answer is to put more funding into the police so there can be better people, they can be better trained, more diverse. There's
exactly.
So I think the answer isn't walking away or taking away, it's doing more.
Giving. I wouldn't even say give more to them. What I'm saying is give them the same.
Yeah.
At least give them, at the very least, give them the same. Right. And we talk about, you brought up the defund the police. I think that was the worst term to be used, because
Yes.
I don't think defund the police actually means let's take money from the police.
Right.
I think the better thing that they should have said was redistribute this wealth. Like, stop buying tanks and military grade equipment for the police department, right? Why do you need like armored vehicles? I get police certain types of equipment, but like you got like real armored equipment, then let's call in somebody to do that kind of stuff. But in addition to that, defund the police type of thing, give them more money. Instead of paying police officers $35,000, $40,000 a year, pay them $100,000 a year. Now the quality of person that you get in there is going to be better, and just raise the standards. Like, you must have this type of education. And in addition to that, you will get paid this. So now you got great people wanting to be a police officer. Same thing with teachers. Why are you paying teachers pennies? Pay a teacher $100,000. Now kids ain't saying I want to be a doctor. Kids are saying, let me be a teacher so I can teach the next doctor.
Right. Because reallocating that money is going to allow you to expand on training. Right? You expand on training, you increase the knowledge of firemen, police. Yeah. Same thing with teachers, right? And then they're going to be able to spread that proper kind of filter where now those bad eggs are slipping through the cracks and things like that. And now you're going to have a more successful kind of chain, and it's going to continue through it. So
absolutely.
Quick question with this. So you have a very strong community through your Misfit Strength, and you are obviously the figurehead to that. You're the leader of it. What are some things or some immediate steps you personally took or talked to your members about when all this stuff kind of came even more front into the media? What was kind of the main message? What were some steps you started to take right away as to what we can do in-house first off, and then expand off that?
The first thing that I'd let every person in our community know is everybody here is welcome. That was the very first thing. I let them know that this is a safe place. Whether you are black, white, gay, lesbian, whatever it is, you will not be mistreated in these walls. That will not happen. You will be thrown out, and it won't be an easy toss, right? We're gonna force you out. So that was the very first thing, was letting people know that this is our sanctuary and you're safe here. No matter who you are, who you love, what you believe, you're safe. And then after that, it was just, if the dialogue was needed, we had it. And it was one that was meant to be fair, non-judgmental, would be the term that I would use. Now, there are some who just couldn't see it and we disagree, and that's fine. We can disagree, but the one thing that you can't disagree with is humanity, right? You can't disagree with, that's wrong. There's no way around it. You can't argue with numbers. You can't argue with the facts, right? So we just tried to educate the people who didn't know. And of course, me being who I am and being that figurehead, it was easy for me to speak out against it, right? I let people have their opinions. You don't have to believe like I believe, but that does not mean you have the right to deny the truth, right? Whether I like it or not, truth is truth. Whether you like it or not, the truth is the truth. I don't decide what the truth is, and neither do you, right? If the numbers say this, then who are we to argue with the numbers, right? And so that was the thing. We just tried to educate people from there, and then just continue to love as best we can. We're now in a position with everything that's happening to we're not going to be taking new people in, right? I'm soon, probably here in the next week or two, I'll make an announcement that the people that we have in our walls are all we're going to take.
Man,
if you were
wait
ever
till
a
you
part
make that announcement. They're gonna love it. They're gonna love it.
Yeah. You know, if you were ever a part of our family, you're welcome. You're welcome back. But new people, you can't. You're special to us, and we have to make sure that you're safe. And we need you to know that you're our priority, and that's what we're gonna do.
Good for you, man. Good for you. And you know what? That just shows. It all comes back to caring and love, and that's why you are so passionate about everything you speak about, whether it's from the gym to, you know, to all the racial, the racist community against them, and against, you know, for the Black Lives Matter movement. Everything that you do, man, you do it with your full heart, and you do it with like good intent, and you actually think about it. And that's one of the things I totally respect about you. I've never seen you lose your cool, but you speak with passion, which is awesome, man. So I want to wish you guys all the best. Say hi to Chris for me, and I don't know if you how do people reach you, man, if they're out in that neighborhood, or if they want some kind of remote program or some advice?
We may be closing our doors to new members, but we are allowing people to be a guest. So if you're in town, you're traveling, and you want to work out with us, feel free to join us. You can personally hit us on our Instagram page, Misfit_Strength. You can hit me on my personal page, Byron.Godfrey. Or you can just give us a call. And our number here, 713-517-5386. Those are the best ways to do it. Email. I don't know if anybody's emailing anymore, but if so, the email is simple. My name, Byron @misfitstrength.com.
Well, it'll all be in the show notes, Casey. You'll get that up. We appreciate having you. Biggest bummer of COVID, man, was me not making it to train with you guys in Chesterton, then in Houston, man. I got junked out of both of those things. This border has not opened. It's killing my network.
Hopefully we'll get a hold of all of this stuff soon enough, probably by the spring or summer, hopefully. And then, man, they'll open it back up, man. We can get to see each other in person.
Yes. All right, man. I'm going to shut this down. So take care.
Byron,
and
very
thank you guys
nice
very
to
much.
meet you.
I'm just going to close the recording.
Pleasure, brother.
And we are over and out.
Time to take action. Now's the time to do more and be more.